The growl from behind the door was no longer human. It started as Arda's voice, but slowly twisted into something deeper, darker, and filled with rage. "Murad, open the door." The shadow beneath the crack in the door began spreading across the basement floor like thick black smoke. It crawled slowly, searching, stretching toward Murad's feet. Layla pulled him farther back. "Don't let it touch you." Murad stared at the door in horror. "That's not Arda anymore." The shadow suddenly shot forward. Samir jumped back. "What is it doing?" The dark shape climbed up the wall, moving like a living thing. It twisted across the basement ceiling, forming strange shapes that looked almost like hands reaching downward. The voice from behind the door laughed. "Not Arda. Not human. 13 years, and still you believe in hope." Murad clenched his fists. "Where is my brother?" The creature paused. For a moment the whispers stopped, then the voice answered softly, "Still inside." Murad felt a wave of anger rising inside him. "You said the sacrifice was done." The creature chuckled. "The ritual is finished." The shadow continued spreading through the basement, but the door was never meant to stay closed forever. Layla looked around nervously. "Murad, the shadows are everywhere." She was right. Dark lines were crawling across the walls, the floor, even the ceiling. The house itself felt infected. Samir whispered, terrified. "If that thing escapes completely." Murad finished the sentence. "It won't stop." The creature spoke again, almost amused. "You were so close." Murad stepped toward the door again. "Close to what?" The creature answered with a whisper, "To the truth." Suddenly the basement lights exploded. Pop. The room plunged into darkness. For several seconds, no one could see anything. Then Samir's phone flashlight turned on again. The beam of light slowly moved across the room, and Murad's heart nearly stopped. The shadow on the wall had formed a face, a familiar face. His father's face. Layla gasped. That's impossible." The shadow smiled. "You finally see it." Murad's hands trembled. "My father died." The creature laughed again. "No, Murad." The shadow moved closer along the wall. He opened the first door. Murad felt the ground shift beneath him. "What?" The whisper grew louder. 13 years ago, your father didn't disappear." The shadow's face stretched wider. "He started the ritual." Murad's mind raced. All the letters, the hidden room, the cage. His brother trapped for years. "You're lying." The creature whispered one final sentence. "Ask your mother." The shadow suddenly rushed back toward the door crack. The basement lights flickered back on. Everything went silent. The shadow was gone. The door was still closed. But Murad now understood something terrifying. The story wasn't finished. The truth was much worse than the monster behind the door, because if the creature was telling the truth, then the 13th night had begun because of their own father, and someone else in the family knew about it. The basement felt colder than ever. Murad stood motionless in front of the sealed door, the creature's last words echoing endlessly in his mind. "Ask your mother." For years, everyone believed their father had simply disappeared. One night he had left the house and never returned. That was the story their mother told. But now, nothing felt certain anymore. Murad slowly stepped away from the door. "We're leaving," he said quietly. Layla looked surprised. "Just like that?" Murad nodded slowly. "This place isn't the end of the story." Samir understood immediately. "It started somewhere else." Murad whispered the answer, "At home." The three of them left the basement and climbed the old wooden stairs. The house above felt strangely normal again. Too normal. No shadows, no whispers. But Murad knew something had changed forever, because when they reached the front door of the house, Murad suddenly stopped. Something was wrong. The lights were on, but when they left earlier, the house had been completely dark. Layla noticed it too. "Murad, is your mother home?" Murad's chest tightened. "No." Slowly, he opened the door. The house was silent, but someone had been there. On the table in the living room sat a single object, a small old cassette tape. Murad's hands began to shake. "Another one." He picked it up. Written on the label in faded ink were two words, "Night One." Samir frowned. But the 13th night already happened. Murad turned the tape over. On the back was another message written carefully, a handwriting Murad recognized immediately, his mother's handwriting. It said, The first night begins when the truth is known. Layla's voice trembled. Murad, what does that mean? Murad slowly walked toward the old tape player in the living room. He inserted the cassette. The tape began spinning. For a few seconds there was only static. The familiar voice began speaking. His mother. But she sounded younger, frightened. If you are listening to this, Murad, then the door has already been opened. Murad's heart pounded. Your father discovered the place beneath the house long before you were born. Layla covered her mouth. Samir whispered, "Oh my God." The recording continued. He thought it was a prison for something evil. But he was wrong. Murad's hands went cold. The tape crackled again. Then came the sentence that changed everything. It was never a prison. The room went silent. Murad felt the ground disappear beneath him. Layla whispered slowly, "Then, what was it?" The tape answered, "It was a gate." Murad's breath stopped. To keep it closed, someone must remain inside. Murad remembered Arda's final words. 13 years was enough. His mother's voice continued, "Your father failed." The ritual began again. Then the tape ended with the final sentence. "If you want to save your brother, you must return before the 13th sunrise." The cassette clicked. Silence filled the room. Murad slowly looked toward the basement door. Layla whispered, "Murad, the ritual isn't over." Samir looked terrified. "You mean we have to go back down there?" Murad's eyes were filled with determination. "Yes." He walked toward the basement again, because if that place is a gate, he opened the basement door slowly, and Arda is still inside. Murad finished the sentence quietly. Then the real nightmare hasn't even started yet. As the basement door creaked open, a cold wind rushed upward from the darkness, and deep below the house, something massive moved. The end, or the beginning. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Adventure, mystery, drama, and a little bit of horror, stories of every kind are waiting for you. Do you love stories full of surprises? Then subscribe and don't miss a single twist or hidden secret.